Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Kova here, and with Messi's sentence for jail for not paying enough in terms of taxes, I thought I'd go through a list of players who have been sentenced to jail. I don't know whether it was while you playing or after, but all these players have either been in jail while they've been playing or have since got a sentence since retiring. So it's something that I seen on goal.com. I thought I'd just replicate it here and tell you the story between them just in case you haven't seen it, which is quite crazy. So obviously there's Messi, but then there is this guy. The player is a guy called Edmundo. In 1998, the Brazilian who did play at the 1998 World Cup was involved in a traffic incident that killed 3 people. The striker, who he's played for the likes of Vasco, as you can see on the screen, Napoli and Fiorentina, and he got 4 years in prison for the part in basically causing that crash. Apparently it was his fault. Next up is Higuita. A lot of people will know him, the Colombian keeper. He was sentenced to 7 months for a involvement in kidnapping. However, it turned out it was between 2 of the Colombia's biggest known criminals, obviously Pablo Escobar, a lot of people will know, and Carlos Molina. And he, the keeper basically, was part of it. He dropped off the ransom money to get Carlos Molina's daughter back. However, he earned money during that. I think he earned $64,000 for playing a part in it. And thus, because of that, he broke the law and was sentenced, I'll say, to the sentence of 7 months. Next up is Tony Verriels, the French international defender. He was arrested for attempted murder for a shooting in Nancy. I don't know what happened. I don't know what sentence he got. That is all I can find out on this guy. Next up is Lucas Viatri. He's an Argentina striker. He was in prison for almost a month in 2008, and he was accused of robbing a hair salon in Buenos Aires with a gun. During the hearing, he agreed to probation and was never actually found guilty. Next up is Breno, the former Bayern Munich international player, was sentenced to 3 years and 9 months in jail for intentionally burning down his house in Germany. Now, I remember the story breaking, and Breno was coming through. I think he was coming through the Bayern Academy, and he was hailed as the next big centre back. Was going to be a really, really good player. Bayern had high hopes for him, and then he basically just lost the plot completely and ended up burning down his house, as you can see on the screen. It wasn't a good time for him. I don't know what he's doing now. I know he got released by Bayern pretty much straight after. Next up is Tony Adams, the English defender. He was sentenced to 4 months in prison in 1990 due to drink driving. Apparently he had a bit of a drink problem at one point. During the time they got sentenced, he was 30 times over the legal limit in England, and he was sentenced, to jail. 4 months as mentioned before, but he was only served 2 months of that, which is still a lengthy time. Next up is Freddie Rincon. The Colombian midfielder was, apparently using a money laundering system, and he was wanted in Panama over this. He wanted to be extradited to Panama, but he only spent 123 days in prison, and that was in Sao Paulo. So I don't know if the court case actually got to finalization there. Next up is Jermaine Pennant. A lot of people know this one. He actually crashed his car whilst being suspended from driving. 16 months suspension he had from driving anyway, and then he was drinking and driving as well. He tried to blag like he was Ashley Cole to the police, and he was sentenced to a 90-day stay in prison, but only got 30 days inside, which is quite incredible considering that Tony Adams got 2 months. Yes, he was over 30 times over the limit, but he wasn't banned previously, so that's crazy. Next up is George Best. Obviously, a lot of people know he had an alcohol problem for a large part of his life, and he received a 3-month prison sentence for drink driving. He also assaulted a police officer and went AWOL whilst he was on bail. Next up is Ched Evans, one that's quite recent. He got convicted for 5 years in prison for the rape of a 19-year-old girl. He served half of his sentence and got released. And then upon appeal, he got his conviction just completely wiped out. And he managed to get a retrial for himself. He's now got a new club. I think he signed for Chesterfield on a 1-year deal. There's been a bit of uproar about that, but that was always going to happen. I think Oldham wanted to sign him at one point. I think another club, Sheffield United, might have actually gone for him. But Chesterfield have actually gone in for him. He had his conviction quashed. Bit of a weird one because he's still got to have a retrial, but They have signed him, and I think a few sponsors have actually dropped out since they did sign him. Next up is Joey Barton, the Ranger midfielder, was sentenced to 6 months because when he was in town in Liverpool, on a clubbing night out, he ended up assaulting someone. I think it was just a straight punch. It was caught on camera, and he got 6 months in prison, which is a crazy one. I don't know why he did it. A bit of an older one. It was a world champion with Germany called Helmut Rahn, and I mean he scored the winning goal in the final, and then was sent to prison for drink driving. Like I think pretty much almost straight after it, which is mental. Next up is Duncan Ferguson, a hothead on the field. A lot of people will know that, and he served a 3-month jail term for when he assaulted John McStay on the field when he was playing against Wraith Rovers. So obviously when he was a Rangers player, and he obviously got several convictions. He assaulted pretty much everyone. Next up, and a lot of people won't know this one, is Joanel. He was a Sporting Gijon and Real Zaragoza player, and he served 5 months in prison and 3 years with probation for going to the salon his ex-girlfriend owned, and he attacked her with a baseball bat in front of her 8-year-old daughter. That is psycho stuff right there. The big one, that is Adam Johnson. He's one of the most recent ones. The England international was sentenced to 6 years in prison for grooming and sexual activity with a girl just aged 15. So that's a minor in England. I think it's 16 or above. So he basically used his status as a Sunderland player. She was a big Sunderland fan, a big fan of his, and he used that status to groom her. He was texting her, and he was doing all kinds, and he got sentenced, and rightly so. Next up is Marlon King, Jamaican international. He's had a few different, sentences. He was sentenced for punching a female university student, and he also got 18 months in prison for sexual assault as well. And there you go, Lionel Messi has just got 21 months. However, he will not get jail because it is under 2 years, which is convenient in my opinion. I think it was always going to be under 2 years. He was never actually going to get prison, and he has had to pay 2.9 million in total, 1.2 million being a father, payment, but Messi will pay that. So guys, as always, if you did enjoy me, running through this, please smash that like button, and I shall see you in the next one.